Vinicius in, Vinicius to win it, 2-0!
The biggest title in Europe is the Champions League.
It doesn't matter how many times.
To win that competition is the main objective every season.
Real Madrid have won it for the 5th time.
What does a team need to do to win the Champions League?
That's a tough question, honestly.
Real Madrid are the champions of Europe once again.
I don't think it's luck.
But it's not that easy just to write down on the paper or on a wall.
You need to have the belief that you can win from day one till the last minute.
Oh, a fantastic goal!
They live and breathe to dominate the Champions League.
Real Madrid just win, come hell or high water.
There's no sitting back. If you want to be part of the story, you better prepare yourself to add your name to that list.
It belongs to us in some way.
The 23-24 season was supposed to be, in theory, maybe something of a transition period. Karim Benzema had left the club. They were outsiders domestically and in the Champions League as well.
I think the team needed very few significant additions in the summer of 23, but they required the correct one. They knew that they wanted extra running and power in midfield. Jude Bellingham was the man signed for that task.
Good afternoon, everyone, for a start. Nice to meet you all. Hopefully we can have a good relationship over the next few years.
Madrid prepared for what would be one of their wonderful seasons by buying the right characters.
For a club that's so big, the infrastructure within is quite small in terms of the big decision makers. There's one person in charge of that football club, and that's Florentino Perez.
The principal reason that 23-24 was such a success was all orchestrated by the great puppet master Florentino Perez, their most successful president ever.
I think Florentino Perez is the most important person in the history of Real Madrid, along with Santiago Bernabéu, the visionary president from the 50s. He created the European Cup. He really saw the future of football as a business, as something that can attract the masses. But he also signed the best players in the world back then. Legends like Alfredo Di Stéfano, Paco Gento, Ferenc Puskás, the Hungarian.
Real Madrid won the first 5 Champions League or European Cups as it was then, so it gave them a pretty good start in this competition.
Emmy Swartz must be tired of giving Real Madrid this cup.
To win those first 5 really imbued them with an identity that this is our competition, this is the one that we take the most seriously. They won it again in 1966, but then they had this agonizing 32-year wait for more success.
They hated it. They paced around Europe, tirelessly searching for a way to dominate again, and they absolutely abhorred that failure vacuum. "1998 was a catalytic moment for what was to come in the history of that club. Real Madrid conducted an absolutely brilliant transfer market haul. They signed Roberto Carlos, they signed Carranca, Davor Šuker. They even added the brilliant Clarence Seedorf.
Okay, Chris, can you just give me a quick level? Okay, boys, when you're ready.
When I went to the club, we had like 9 new players in the first 11. It was like putting together a puzzle. When we went into Europe, it was very clear that despite all the years that Madrid didn't win, the respect that there was for the club was incredible. Juventus was the team to beat. We were underdogs.
Juventus was in a great moment with Zidane as the star.
When we got on the pitch, It was all in. We were tougher than the Italians. That was the only way we would be able to stand a chance against the Juventus.
Breaks for Roberto Carlos, could fall for Mijatovic, 2 yards out, he scored for Real Madrid!
Imagine the explosion after 32 years.
Real Madrid are the European Cup winners in 1998.
That was craziness, like madness. The character of the team was so fundamental, and I think there was always some kind of magic happening, that strong inner belief that we could win.
That victory against Juventus was crucial in the history of the club.
La settima, they call it. This is the moment that we're going to change things around. This is the moment we're going to put Madrid back on top.
It changed the club's confidence. You simply need to look at the next 5 or 6 years and their dominance of Europe.
Right, the goalkeeper, right on! Their 8th European Cup!
Oh, a fantastic goal from one of the greatest players in the world!
Real Madrid winning 3 Champions League titles in 5 years between 1998 and 2002 kind of underlined the fact that this is their tournament.
Real Madrid are the champions of Europe once again!
Jude Bellingham hit the ground running as soon as he arrived, and it was incredible because you could already see that they had bought a star.
To have somebody arriving in that culture without Spanish language, still very young, and powering the team forward with his goals and assists in crucial moments. Real Madrid and Jude Bellingham were made for one another.
You need a good balance and a good mix between fresh, young, super motivated players. On the other hand, you need like experienced players who won a lot of trophies because they have the winning mentality.
Modric and Kroos are 2 of the most impressive professionals that I ever worked with.
The club had no rush to push out more experienced players. Having the freedom as a young player to just play your game and not have the responsibility to carry the team because you still have your main leaders there. I think Madrid as a club understood the value of that.
Creating a dynasty requires people who will carry the message beyond the coach, beyond even a mighty president like Florentino Perez.
It's been a president's club and a players' club where the star system has always been linked to presidents who bring them in.
To be the president is an honor, it's a privilege, it's also a great responsibility.
When Perez is planning his attempt to become Real Madrid president, he was poring over the Manchester United accounts because they're public at this point. It was a public limited company. Manchester United of the 90s became this commercial behemoth to become a hugely successful team. Perez thought that a similar system at Madrid, you could go further. You could create a star system that just became a money machine all of its own. He saw players as movie stars. And this was, of course, a title that's now almost as famous as the name of Madrid itself, which is Galacticos.
Those 3 years, we had the most incredible players together in a club. Zidane, Ronaldo, Figo, Beckham. When you saw that team, you thought that you could win with the names. Big mistake.
Egos need to be contained.
The Galactico era was really exciting, but somehow there was the feeling that the signings were more important than winning.
Work always be talent when talent doesn't work. And that was very, very clear what happened.
There was clearly too much of an inclination to party, particularly the parties hosted by Ronaldo Nazario are famous and quite notorious.
In theory, it's a great idea. Buy all the best players in the world and put them together in a team. In practice, didn't really work, and the Galacticos is a project that is always deemed a failure. They didn't win enough trophies, and they didn't win the Champions League.
Florentino Perez has seen that his first Galactico approach is not quite realistic these days because all the clubs have the money. So Florentino Perez has adopted a new philosophy which has a lot to do with signing the Galacticos of the future.
Rather than buy the best stars, Real Madrid, for the first time in their modern history really, we're going to switch and make them.
He set out a deliberate strategy of signing this brilliant talent spotter, Juni Calafat, and said to him, get me the best young footballers before anybody else knows about them and sign them up and bring them to me.
Vinny Jr. at the time when he was scouted and looked upon, he was already a leader in Flamengo, and big things were expected of him when he first arrived to Real Madrid.
When he went to Madrid as a young teenager, there were questions about it. There were questions what they said about the market, whether it was good for a player that young to be leaving Brazil, and yet he's been, the defining player of the modern Madrid.
They are recruiting younger, definitely, but I still think they'll always look at who the best players in the world are.
It was really Bellingham that moved this policy onto another level. It's almost the first of a modern Galactico in that sense. It's signing young, but it's signing young at a certain level. And there aren't that many at that level like Bellingham.
He has an amazing personality. I think it also comes with some are just ready. If you're ready, you're ready.
Not many players are able to accept the pressure.
If you can deal with it, you're in the most amazing club in the world.
I've seen many players here that didn't cope with it.
I realized immediately, you have to win.
Then there's that mythical side of the shirt.
Real Madrid in the white shirt.
That's been created by all those players over the years.
I always loved the all-white.
It wears heavy, of course.
If you feel the weight, then maybe you're not the right person to wear the jersey.
You have to bring something back to the shirt. You have to win.
Real Madrid had gone through 10 managers since their last Champions League win. Perez was looking for a coach who would manage to get the best out of the dressing room, because what he felt was that he had Galacticos on his side. And who better to do this than Carlo Ancelotti?
When he was brought in, he was coming off the back of 3 years of Jose Mourinho, 3 years of more defensive, robust football.
Ancelotti is the perfect figure for what the club are, which is basically someone that understands his position within that hierarchy, but also knows how to manage the personalities in the hierarchy.
He's worked under some of the most challenging people in football, Roman Abramovich at Chelsea, Silvio Berlusconi at Milan, and Florentino Perez at Real Madrid.
Myself and Carlo flew from London to Madrid and he was going to sign his contract. We go to the boardroom. It's a massive, large, circular table in the middle of the room, and then a trophy cabinet that's along the side. And all you see is European Cups. So you sense the importance straight away of the European Cup is everything to this club.
The key moment for Real Madrid in the last 10 years was the final of the 2014 Champions League. They were up against Atletico Madrid, their cross-city rivals. They hadn't won the Champions League for 12 years, the long-awaited La Décima. They were waiting for the 10th. It had become an obsession for Real Madrid.
I remember going into the game, we had issues. What we're going to do in central midfield with Alonso not playing. We decided to go with Khedira, even though we knew there's no way he's going to play 90 minutes.
I just came back in May, 5 months after broken my ACL. Every expert and doctor said, you need at least 8 months. Carlo said, you will play the Champions League final.
Everywhere you walked in this city, you heard the words La Décima, La Décima. They wanted to win the 10th.
In the first half, we conceded.
Headed back into the penalty area, and headers over the goalkeeper. It hits the post, it's into the net, and it stands.
Half-time, I remember how incredibly calm Carlo was.
Carlo is always quiet. So he's never freaking out or never lose his mind or shouting to us. He just gave us a lot of confidence.
To think of the magnitude of the game, how he kept so calm. I think he was special that night, Carlo. Second half, I just remember how fast the time was going. And every time I looked at my watch, it's like another 10 minutes had gone past. But now you're looking at your watch and 90 minutes is up. Time's running out.
The truth is that we still believed, but it was like a really, really low percentage.
It was going to be the worst night in the history of Real Madrid.
Into added time here in Lisbon. Some can't look.
Losing the final, not winning the La Décima, and then against this team, it cannot happen. It's a nightmare. Atletico Madrid is winning the Champions League. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it.
To the corner from the right. In there, header by Real, and it's into the net. Sergio Ramos met that corner in the middle of his forehead.
Ramos's jump, his timing, and then to beat Courtois, who's like 6'6", 6'7", with an incredible wingspan. I mean, it couldn't have gone anywhere else, I think, than that bottom corner.
After that goal, we went back to the bench and we looked to each other, even without saying anything, but we knew that the game is done.
It was like the whole energy had been sucked out of Atletico and had energised us.
Gareth Bale has the winner in the Champions League final. They are champions for the 10th time. It is La Décima.
Just sheer emotion when the whistle went and relief that, you know, what we'd achieved.
To win the big titles, you need this certain and special type of character and personality.
Something quite amazing, I think, happened in the dressing room afterwards as well. There was saw a small group of players just sort of congregate in the corner of my eye, and it was the Portuguese, Brazilian-speaking players. So Ronaldo, Contral, Marcelo, Pepe. They're having quite a serious discussion. You know, they're the trophies sitting there, the suits are dripping in champagne. And, you know, I went over and said, like, what are you guys talking about? And he said, we're talking about how we have to go and win it next year. And I was like, wow, they're already switching their mindset to, we've got to go on and do this again.
La Décima was a moment when Los Blancos said, we're back. It's time now to keep on winning the Champions League, whatever it takes to do that. Anybody who's watched Madrid closely over the last 30 years will fully understand that there's a common thread, which is we win however it comes.
We saw it against Manchester City. They defended and they defended and they sat back. They didn't have to have possession and dominate the match. What they had to do was find a way to win.
City were pummeling them. It genuinely looked as if Madrid couldn't hang on. And quite early on in the second half, they began to play for penalties. Unheard of for Real Madrid.
Carlo Ancelotti masterminded that game against Manchester City because he respected the talent he had, and he respected in their ability to resolve situations.
I could see they have that same commitment to his game plan, commitment to him as a person. It's about respect.
The way that he deals with players, I think, is a massive, massive strength.
It was through Juventus and then obviously at Milan where he realized how much human relationships matter.
Carlo and I are good friends. His capacity to create that space, especially for creative players, I think that was what makes him special. But also in his moments of uncertainty, he would listen to ideas. It would be an open conversation. And that made us responsible for the result on the pitch as well.
That's his superpower, is that ability to nurture this family environment where everyone feels important and everyone feels seen and heard. And players are happy to sacrifice for one another because they're all convinced of the strategy that they're about to implement.
Antonio Rudiger with the score 3-3 in the shootout. And Real Madrid are through. They've knocked out the champions.
And when you believe in a coach and you have faith in him and you think he will always protect you and be there for you, you're going to die for him. Zlatan Ibrahimovic famously said, Jose Mourinho knows how to treat a footballer, but Carlo Ancelotti knows how to treat a person.
Zinedine Zidane was arguably the greatest footballer of his generation, but can he replicate his success on the pitch now he's a manager?
Nobody, including Zidane, ever thought he'd become a coach.
He has an aura about him, Zizou, and was perfect for the team at that time.
He wanted to build a legacy for himself, and he wanted the team to always be known as perennial winners.
An unprecedented 11th European Cup Champions League triumph.
He's got an ability to make players perform, to make them loyal, and make them think, I'll do anything for you.
I moved on to Juventus. Unfortunately, I had like this bad experience in the final in Cardiff. They did nothing special, to be honest, but they had like the better momentum, the better energy, and the better killer instinct.
The back-to-back triumphs where hunger should be eroded, where rust should come in, neither of those things happened.
An overhead kick, it's in from Bale!
It's practically impossible to win the Champions League 3 times in a row.
But of course, Real Madrid have made a business of making the impossible seem very, very possible.
Now, you have to be looking at that and saying, will that ever be done again?
The modern squad still owes something to Zidane. They wanted to mimic his perpetual desire to be the best.
By the time Zidane goes, Real Madrid had won 4 Champions League titles in the last 6 years, a level of dominance that nobody had seen since Real Madrid had won the first 5 European Cups back in the 50s.
I don't think it was a big surprise that Carlo went back to Real Madrid.
Florentino Perez's need for Carlo Ancelotti is crystal clear and shown by the fact that there are very few times when he admits he's wrong and the president of Real Madrid goes back to somebody and says, I want you to come home again.
He leaves Everton, comes to Real Madrid, and he does exactly what he did in his first tenure. He immediately wins the Champions League.
Real Madrid have won the Champions League for a 14th time.
The outcome was not bad.
A lot said about European nights at the Bernabeu being special, being different, and they really, really are.
It was the semi-final of the Champions League in 2024, and Madrid were playing Bayern Munich.
It actually starts before you even get in the stadium. The streets are packed with fans, and they line the streets 10, 15 deep. It's so motivating for the players to see that.
When people ask what is the Bernabeu effect, look at Real Madrid being on the ropes against Bayern Munich. They're losing, they're out, the clock is nearly at full time.
Real Madrid have produced so many comebacks that the atmosphere in the stadium, particularly when Real Madrid are trailing, is really quite unique. And it's not like Anfield, it's not like Old Trafford, it's not like San Siro. It's almost like a perfect storm. It builds into a crescendo.
They try and suck the ball into the net.
They can push you, they can help you, they can give you this extra percentage of performances.
The energy there is one of pure belief. We've got one goal, we'll get another.
Ball on the edge of the penalty area, work back to the left-hand side, and then it's in! How many times do this club do this?
Real Madrid just win, come hell or high water.
And Real Madrid are through. They've done it again.
That is their legacy, that is their mentality.
And the Bernabeu effect is, the game's not over until the lights in the stadium are out and everybody's at home in their beds. Going into Wembley, Florentino Perez would have been thinking one thought only: we're going to win.
Borussia Dortmund is already having to come up against the biggest team in Europe, and yet Dortmund should have been leading in that game.
And he's onto this. He's beat the offside trap. Courtois comes out, forces him wide, and then he couldn't get the shot in.
When you get a chance to score against Madrid, make sure you score, and make sure you can score 2 or 3. And not too early in the match, later.
It's this reputation that they manage to always leverage. They know how to make the opponent feel inferior. That is knowing how to be winners, because it's not just about what you do on the pitch, but it's also a psychological game. And when it comes to psychology, Real Madrid always win.
In towards the near post, glance it in!
This is the beauty of Madrid, is that they don't actually need to show up for the 90 minutes. They just need to show up when it matters.
They have the feeling when they have to kill the game, and that's something special. And that's maybe for the last 10 years, Real Madrid is the master in that.
Vinicius in! Vinicius to win it! 2-0!
This is what top sport is about. Sometimes it's a simple moment that makes a difference, and you cannot even say I did something bad. No, simply it was supposed to be Madrid this time.
It doesn't matter how many times you win this great trophy. It means as much every time to this club, to Real Madrid.
They have proved once again that they are the greatest club side in Europe and probably in the world.
Real Madrid are still the #1 world force in football when it comes to lifting the big trophies, and will be for some years to come.
This mix of experience and the age of this group, that will keep the fire going.
If you're regularly winning Champions Leagues, you are a commercial powerhouse. That's why winning Champions League is important, because you're the most relevant club in the game. You're the champion.
That's what Florentino Perez is so good at, is he's a businessman. He understands the business of sport. He can really drive the team forward and maintain its winning legacy.
If you look at them having 15 wins, and then the next best, I believe, is 7. I think the team on 7 is Milan. And when's the next time Milan are going to win the Champions League?
If we're speaking about the future, all the world football are thinking they're winning like 5 out of 6 Champions League titles in the next years, but it's not easy like that.
A season without being kings of Europe for them is a season wasted.
My feeling is that Madrid will go on and dominate for the next 20, 30 years.